Welcome back, everybody. This is episode number 23 of 718 Sports. I'm joined alongside my beautiful co-host, the best baseball pitcher in the world, besides Garrett Cole, of course. Um, Isaiah Ruben Patel, the goat of all goats, just had his media day with SUNY Purchase. Um, he's giggling. He's a little embarrassed. I thought he looked good. He was making some TikToks, dancing with the fellas. So, just had to give him a little shout out there. But outside today, it's a little slushy, a little gross out here in New England. But you look outside right now, and there's one thing that's on my mind. Isaiah, there's one thing that's on my mind, and that is springtime. Don't you agree with me?
100%. And you know what happened this week?
What happened this week, Isaiah?
Pitchers and catchers reported to spring training.
So just as it's freezing and shivering cold for most of the United States and most of Canada, of course, where or wherever you're watching, it's most likely cold because it's winter in North America at least. And yet there's this place called Tampa, Florida, where my New York Yankees are getting ready to start their spring training. The pitchers and catchers are down there. Their players are all down there. They're starting to get ready to go. And just as the Super Bowl winded down, just as the Eagles won their second Super Bowl, just as the NBA and the NHL are in their respective All Star breaks, spring training is upon us. And it's a little bit of an odd time right now. It's like mid February. Currently, the NBA is going to go to an All Star break, which between you and me, no one's watching, um, especially after the format of this year, which is like Team Shaq, Team Kenny, all that. I can't deal with it. And but the hockey, what they're doing in the NHL is they're doing the four nations. They're doing Finland, Sweden, U.S., and Canada, which I'll probably be tuning into one or a few of those games because it looks pretty interesting to me at least. But scratch all that. Baseball's here, and today we're going to talk about the American League East. And I kind of just want to talk about whatever team you want to talk about, Isaiah, because I've just been yapping here for the first few minutes. So I just want to hear what team you want to start with. Which team gives you the most interest? I have one in mind.
Okay. I'm not going to talk about the most interest because the AL. Let's start with the most recent and big deal for the AL East, which is Alex Bregman's 3 year, I believe it was what, $120 million deal?
Correct. And
So same thing as
$320
Brandon
million,
Ingram.
dollars, $120 million, and opt outs every single year. So pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
so we could talk about that. That was a weird signing to me for a couple of reasons. So first and foremost, as a Tigers fan, I thought he was going to reunite with AJ Hinch. I thought it would have made the most sense for him to go to Detroit. They would give him a lot of money. I think the final deal that they offered him was like 6 years for 170, which is a lot of money still. But Scott Boras is a fucking asshole. Excuse my language. But I mean, really big signing for Boston. They've done a lot of work this offseason. Looking at who they've picked up so far, they got Walker Buehler on a 1 year deal. They acquired a new ace in Garrett Crochet, signed a closer in Aroldis Chapman, and signed Patrick Sandoval. So that's whatever. But
Patrick Sandoval.
yeah, I don't know. But three big pitchers on that team. They got a new,
Oh, I thought you meant Pablo Sandoval for a
nah,
second. My fault.
Patrick,
I
yeah.
was like, that's kind of a dog. That's a dig on Alex Breckenridge right there. What?
Yeah. But yeah, so they got maybe a new closer in Chapman, a new ace in Crochet, and then a backup, a middle rotation guy in Bueller. 1 year deal for Bueller, coming off a so-so year. So interesting there. But looking at the Bregman deal in terms of who Bregman is, he is not playing third base on this team. He made that clear sort of before free agency. He said he would play second base. They have Devers, so he's going to be probably playing second base. And it's an interesting deal for me as in looking at, I'll be quick because we have a lot to talk about, but looking at some, I'm going to name two top prospects for them. And just Roman Anthony is the number one prospect in Boston, the number two in baseball. He should be number one, but Rookie Sasaki, he will be up in the major leagues, most likely on opening day to play one of the outfield positions. Um, and then Marcelo Mayer, for a top pick, what, 2021? He is a middle infielder. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of he is supposed to come up this year. I would not be surprised if he's on the opening day roster. But I don't see where this top guy fits in now with Bregman at second base. I believe Trevor Story's playing short, and then Devers at third, and Cousins at first. So I don't see a lot of room to throw him in there. And you need a bat like depth is great, But on a team that's trying to be a win now team like Boston is, it's a little confusing. I know that Yoshida has been in trade talks and Roman Anthony can fill that hole, but I I like what Boston's done this offseason and they made good moves, but they confuse me for what their plan is down the line. I can't see Boston. Boston's going to be a good team. I can see Boston. I'm going to say Boston will be the third place team in the AL East. So we'll do our final list later, but I'm going to say Boston's the third place team in the AL East. They've just been very confusing to me with the offseason deals and how they're planning their future.
Yeah. Going off of Boston, just kind of lost talking to them. Let's talk about Bregman first, just a little more openly, and then I'll just talk more broadly about the Boston Red Sox and my thoughts on their team. So, to me, this deal, Bregman is a very risky signing. I think he's getting up there in age. He's still a high quality third baseman, but he is slowing down. Still though, top 5 third baseman in the MLB.
But I want to say one thing real quick too. As you're saying this, they're signing him for his glove, not his bat.
Right.
This is another huge thing. As you're saying, like his glove is amazing, but his bat has been mediocre the last 2 years.
Right. And again, as you're saying, depth is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of depth. In my opinion, I think they need a little more outfield help. Their infield is a little jam-packed with stars, which is good for them, which is never a problem. And I also think that, you will see Bregman at third base here and there. I don't think it's going to be truly a second base position for him, just because I think Devers can still play third baseman at a somewhat quality position before Devers is going to be a DH in a year or two, but I think he'll be DHing and Bregman will be headed to third base because they have so much depth and because they have to do that. So I wouldn't be shocked if you see Devers not play very much third base this year and just solely focus on hitting and designated hitter position. Now, talking about the Red Sox more broadly, they had an excellent first half of the 2024 MLB season. Jarren Duran kind of exploded. He was All-Star Game MVP. And then second half, they kind of slowed down, kind of caught up to him, and eventually missed the playoffs. But still, not a bad year for the Red Sox, all things considered. They just got better. They just keep getting better. And I know this too much because as a Yankees fan, they scared me a little bit last year. Devers is still a legit player, and Story can still do some damage, and their pitching is still strong. So, I think Boston could realistically reach the number 2 seed in the American League East. Realistically, that could happen if all goes well. Do I think they're contenders at the moment? Not yet. I don't think they're contenders yet.
What are they missing?
I think they're still missing a little bit more outfield depth, and then they can get better. I think they're
catching. You don't think Roman Anthony's the key, the missing piece?
I mean, I think he is, but it's going to take him a year or two to develop. He's not just going to come out of the gates, swinging. Look at Jackson Holliday, right? Jackson Holliday, probably the best prospects in our recent few years, and he was still batting 9th and not making a massive impact, at least, with the Baltimore Orioles, where, Roman Anthony's going to come in. He's going to play good baseball, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to be, above a 230 hitter just for a season. You know what I'm saying? He's just got to get used to the major leagues. It takes time. A lot of these things, they take time. There's not a lot of instances where players just kind of explode out of their rookie year. Aaron Judge being the exception, really. But
yeah. Speaking about taking time, this offseason, the Red Sox acquired Garrett Crochet. They gave up a few top prospects, but Garrett Crochet, I was a big Garrett Crochet fan. I picked him up in fantasy baseball last year. Great. But last year was his first full season as a starter. And you saw in the end of the year, he way less starts. Innings number got cut. Going into a new team where he's probably the number 1. How do you think he compares? Because the AL East, we'll talk about all the teams, but the AL East is going to be really competitive. The skill gap isn't really far from all 4 or 5 teams, I would say. So how do you think Garrett Crochet's first full season on the Red Sox, second full season as a starter, is going to impact his numbers? Because he's going to throw more innings now. He's going to be a 20-start guy versus a 16-start guy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, no disrespect to the White Sox fans listening to this, but he did play for the White Sox. And ultimately, there's nothing to really play for, especially near the end of that season. So I think that innings restriction was less so of Crochet being actually injured, and more so of, let's keep him low inning minimum, not too much uh, actual high leverage pitching, just because we're most likely going to ship him off. And the last thing we want is for him to get hurt so we can get some prospects. That's where I think that's coming from. Again, like playing for the Red Sox versus the White Sox is very different, though, right? Like Boston is a little bit of a bigger market than the White Sox market.
Way bigger.
And, no disrespect to the city of Chicago, but it's a Cubs city, at least now. And I think that, there's going to be a little bit of that more pressure, which I think Crochet fully has the capability to perform under that pressure. And he was, the one star on the White Sox, and he knows how to be a star. He knows how to lead teams. So I don't think there's any reason he couldn't do it with Boston. That being said, I think the Red Sox, their pitching staff has just improved immensely. They always seem to have, some good pitcher come up out of nowhere. So Brian Bayo, exact, is like one of those pitchers too. He had a really good year. Nick Pivetta just signed with the Padres, but that that's not a massive loss.
Even Cutter Crawford had a really solid year last year. I was surprised Cutter Crawford came out the bat and was dealing. I think this Boston team, I'll finish up here and we'll go quick, we'll move a different team. But I think the way you're talking about them is the way I sort of see them. They're a very gritty team. I think you're right. Like they're going to be, especially for a Yankee fan like you, they're going to be scary down the line when it comes to a team trying to clinch the division. They're going to be a team where it's like if you have a series in Boston, or you're not going to want to play them near the end of the year, especially with Jalen Duran's only getting better. I mean, if Devers moves strictly to DH, he could improve a ton. So I think you made a very good point of this team's up and coming. I think the deal with Bregman is going to be really interesting, especially with the opt-outs, because he has been a subpar hitter the last few years.
Yeah.
So that deal is going to be the Bregman deal might be the most important and instrumental part of how this year goes for the Red Sox.
Yeah. Just another player to look out for. Rafaela can play a bunch of bases, super fast. Kind of, made me throw my phone at the TV a couple times as a Yankees fan. He's another player to look out for. He blew up. Yoshida is still there. You know what I mean? Like, there's still a lot of interesting talent right there. Do I think they're a win-now team? I think they could be. Do I think they're realistically better than a team like the Yankees? No. But I think maybe in a year they would be, But kind of want to talk about a different team here. Pick a team, Isaiah. Who do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about Tampa Bay Rays because this team has really surprised me. I mean, I don't really want to talk about Wander Franco too much, but that's a really big part about why I think the Rays are going to be in 5th place this year in the AL East. Losing Wander Franco is huge, not just for like the team, but for the culture of that team and the process they're bringing up now. Their off-season deals were a little confusing to me. I mean, I'm trying to find it. I think it was Hae-Sung Kim and Danny Jansen. Yeah. Hae-Sung Kim is a great pickup, 2-year deal. Really good pickup for them. Fills up. He's a utility guy. He can play anywhere. I think they're probably going to put him at shortstop to start off, but he can play anywhere in the infield, even the outfield too. So really good pickup. But Danny Jansen, like, he's whatever, like 1-year deal.
Danny Jansen is going to move the needle to make you a contender. You know what I'm saying?
I think there's no chance that Tampa is a contender. I think that can be like pushed out. Tampa can be the 4th seed or the 3rd seed in that division, but they're not going to be a playoff team. Looking at some of their prospects, Trey Morgan is coming up in the next year or two. They have Xavier Isaac. They have Caminero, they're all good players. Their pitching looks good. They have Taj Bradley still on the team. Sham Baz, Gary Gohill from upstate New York actually is an up and coming, but this team this year does not seem like a contender. And the fact that they're in a small market and I can't think of a time where the Rays made like a splash trade. The Rays are really good at getting like mediocre, honestly, sorry to bring this out there, like Joey Wendell, mediocre baseball players like Joey Wendell, and making them really good with that team. The way I'm thinking about the Rays is that they make their role players really good. But once they leave the Rays, they're whatever. Blake Snell is the exception, and Glasnow, they were stars.
Yeah.
Wander Franco is a star. They do have Christopher Morel now, I believe, but okay. I'm talking too much. Yandy Diaz is still there. They still have a decent team. Decent
There's
team.
no, yeah, and like kind of want to like put this out there, just generally saying this about all baseball teams that are in the league. There's no bad baseball team except for the White Sox. Every team has one above average hitter, above average pitcher at best. The Rays, they have a few of those guys. I think a few of those guys are overrated. I think Brandon Lau is not going to be as good. He's kind of slowed down a little bit. Bless you, Isaiah. Christopher Morel is still a great player. He's still, kicking some ass down there. Pitching wise, you still got McClanahan. He's kind of slowed
Yeah,
down.
coming off Tommy John though. I
Not
still
Tommy
can't.
John, but like
Yeah.
a lot of players have come off Tommy John and been completely fine. Garrett Cole was
My
out for
issue,
most of
yeah,
last year and still pitched really well.
my issue with them is that I don't think they have not even the depth. Like they make mediocre players very good, but I don't think they have the depth and the skill to compare to the teams in the AL East. I'm gonna have them in fifth place because I can't see them winning more than 70 games, honestly, which is still over 500. But I don't think they can even. I think all the wild card teams are going to be 85 plus win teams.
Yeah.
I think that's just a fact. The AL has become so strong now where to get in the playoffs, you have to win close to 90 games, which is insane to hear, but that's what we saw last year.
Yeah. And it's really close. Like I was looking at the standings, I haven't peeked at the standings honestly since September of last year, but the Yankees only won the division by 3 games. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like wasn't that far off. It wasn't like the Yankees ran away with the division. And so Baltimore's right there. Toronto, it's not right there at this point, but Tampa Bay could make a little bit of like it's not impossible. Like one hot stretch and Rays are a wild card team. So
Yeah, the way I look at the Rays for this year and probably I'm not gonna say next year because we haven't even stuff could happen next year, but for this year, the Rays are gonna be very similar to I'm gonna say Boston in the way of like they're gonna be a team that if you're trying to clinch the division, you're not gonna want to play them. They're gonna be a team that's gonna be scrappy, and that's for a team like the Yankees, team like Baltimore that's trying to clinch and trying to get games up on their opponents. It's gonna be really hard to beat. But I don't think the Rays have any shot of winning the division pennant this year. The team's not strong enough up and down. They do right. McClanahan's coming back on Tommy John. They do have Taj Bradley. They do have Boz, but the pitching hasn't really been there. They have decent prospects, but the guys I named like Morgan, Hill, Xavier Isaac will be up this year, but the other guys won't be up for a year or two. Caminero made some appearances last year, was decent, but he had a really good winter league. I'll say that, but winter league doesn't translate to the MLB exactly. It's good, really good prep, but to have the winter league that he did, that's the expectation of almost a 40 home run season for him. I could see them dealing Yandy Diaz. There was rumors about that too. The Rays are in a really weird boat of do you sell or do you buy? Like as the Rays, you have to decide like before the deadline this year, like are you gonna work on this year being like a rebuild year and get some prospects, trade Yandy Diaz, trade Xavier Isaac, etc. Or do you just want to play it out and try to buy guys? Because their prospect list isn't high, but they have guys, and they always turn their guys into studs. That's a guarantee. That's a Rays guarantee. So it'll be interesting to see down the line and trade deadline.
absolutely. Now I kind of want to talk about another team here. Let's briefly kind of talk over this team because honestly, like the top two of the division are more interesting than anyone else. Let's talk about the Toronto Blue Jays. And with the Toronto Blue Jays, again, disappointment, disappointment, disappointment. Like they need to start winning games, period. And they have a lot of good talent on their team. Guerrero's still Guerrero. They got Santander this offseason. Bo Bichette is still there playing somewhat okay. Kirk is still back there, but the clock is ticking, and a lot of these guys are not young guys anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like they need to win games, they need to make big plays. The Blue Jays are a 500 team. I'm sorry, like at best they're a 500 team. Because everyone says, "Oh, maybe they'll be good. Maybe they'll be they could because they do. They genuinely have the talent to be a number one seed in the American League East. I think they do. I think if they all play well, I think if Guerrero blows up, Bichette blows up, Varsho blows up, Santander plays well, Kirk plays well, the pitching staff does its thing. I think it could be a really strong team. But look at the starting pitchers, right? Kevin Gausman, he's getting up there in age. Chris Bassett, who's also getting up there in age. Jose Barrios, consistent, but also getting up there in age. Alek Manoah, who knows what's going to happen with Alek
What about
Manoah?
Max Scherzer? That guy's
Max
up there in
Scherzer,
age.
that guy a little bit up there in age. So like the whole pitching rotation could go down. Like I don't want to like be that guy, but like the pitching staff is getting so old that like you have to be aware that like two out of those five guys are going to go down with injury at some point
Mhm.
because father time is against them, unfortunately. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I think you're hitting all the points that I like was going to talk about. I mean, their offseason like additions didn't no nothing surprised. The only trade that surprised me was getting Jimenez because I was surprised that Cleveland traded him. But even with that, that makes me believe like Bichette or Guerrero's gone. I know Guerrero did not deny, but said no to an extension. So I'm interested to see where that goes because if he gets done at the deadline, they're only going to get prospects, and that means they're out of the playoff. They're out of play without Guerrero. You can't be in the playoffs as a Toronto Blue Jays. Like you need Guerrero to be in the playoffs this year. That's final. Picked up Santander for a 5-year deal. Is he worth the money he was given? After last year, yes, but I don't think he'll be worth that in 2 to 3 years. Sorry to say. Jeff Hoffman, Miles Straw, interesting guys, but Scherzer was a weird thing for me. I mean, I agree with you. A team like Toronto is competing for the division. I don't know. I'm a huge Max Scherzer guy. I've been a huge Max Scherzer fan since I was a little kid. Love him on the Tigers, but he's not as big of a what's the word contributor. He's not as big a contributor as he used to be. He's
no.
older, as you said. His stuff isn't the same. His velo's down. Like he's not what he's supposed to be. $15 million towards Max Scherzer is a lot of money for a guy who's going to give you 120 innings, maybe. I can't see go more. The injury bug has hit him a lot.
Yeah.
It's really concerning. And then
It
what's worried me a
also
lot,
just like looks like a desperation throw. Like let's just see what happens with Scherzer. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? And it's a
What
1 year
worries me,
deal,
yeah.
but like
Mm.
it's just like doesn't really make much sense. If your issue on the team is already aged, why would you go out and get more of an older player? I don't know. It doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to me.
What worries me a lot too is that Ricky Tiedemann, a left-handed pitcher in AAA who's 22, is supposed to be this disgusting pitcher. I believe he's like top. I think he's top 5 in the pitching prospects in all MLB. He's been in the system for 3 or 4 years now. Like the issues with Tiedemann, if he doesn't come up this year, they're gonna have zero pitching depth. Tiedemann, I'm not saying is an all-star, but Tiedemann is one of the most disgusting pitchers I've ever seen. He would really improve the staff, even as a reliever. Talking about Manoah, pressure is for tires. He's been horrible the last year and a half. Alex Manoah's downfall from a Cy Young candidate to where he's at now has to be studied at some point because I don't understand what happened. I was a big Manoah fan when he was good because he was an asshole, but he had swagger, but since then he's been really disappointing. And the way they've handled Tiedemann, it worries me for the future of this organization. Like the prospects haven't come up as well. They haven't translated well. Their last big prospect was Guerrero and Bichette. Like they've been a real offseason acquisition team with Springer, Gosman, but as you're saying, like they haven't really won anything. These guys are older. And you can tell the last year and a half, no one wants to go to Toronto. Otani said no. Bregman said no. Soto said no. These are guys like going in, they're going into meetings like offering the world to these players, and no one wants to go to Toronto. So Toronto's in a really weird boat. I mean, I think you said it the best of like father time is against them. The team's getting old. The window has really, really closed. This is like a this year or next year window to compete for a championship, but that window is closing even more every day, especially with the Guerrero rumors.
Hmm, absolutely. Windows closing. I think Guerrero could be traded at the deadline. Honestly, um, if he doesn't, if the Blue Jays don't start winning games, I think that's a real
Here's the thing, yeah.
possibility.
I think that Guerrero can only, the issue with Guerrero is that because he wants an extension, he's gonna have to go to a high market team.
Yeah.
There's only a few teams that can handle that type of player and type of money in the MLB, and two of them are in the division with the Yankees and the Red Sox. Both those teams can make a huge acquisition at the deadline and still have prospects after trading him.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, kind of a boring team. Sorry to say it. I'm not a huge fan of what the Toronto Blue Jays are doing, but I want to talk about the Baltimore Orioles now. Uh, one of the very different than Blue Jays, one of the younger teams in the Major League Baseball system, right? And there's a lot to be excited about. They still got Cedric Mullins, Colton Cowser, Laureano, Mountcastle still there. Jordan Westberg is still there. Rutschman is still there. Ryan O'Hearn can still play some good ball. Gary Sanchez, you never know what can happen with him. Their bullpen, Felix Bautista is still elite closer. Um, Zach Eflin, Andrew Kittredge, Charlie Morton's over there. Like they have a lot of interesting players, a lot of interesting talent over there. Um, this is going to be the one of the two teams competing for the American League East. Like no doubt about it in my mind.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say more. I mean, I'm gonna agree. Like looking at their offseason acquisitions, like Tyler O'Neill was a good pickup. Great year for Boston last year. 3-year deal gave him a little bit of money. Wasn't a fan, but they had the money to throw around now. Gary Sanchez is a good backup for Rutschman. Charlie Morton's an old. Losing Corbin Burns to the Diamondbacks was a huge loss for them. They lost their ace, their guy. They don't really have a guy to fill that role right now. They don't have. That's their biggest problem right now, in my opinion, is that they don't have their ace pitcher. They lost Flaherty 2 years ago, and we saw what happened there. Lost Corbin last year, so they don't really have an ace. They did pick up from Japan Yama Tomoyuki Sugano. I sorry to butcher that name, but he's a stud. I've seen him pitch the lefty stud, absolute stud. He's going to be a middle rotation guy for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're missing pitching. Pitching is their biggest downfall right now. But
Pitching is the
looking at
biggest
their
downfall. But that being said, their offense is pretty remarkable, right?
oh,
You got
100%.
Tyler O'Neill, it's a big pickup. I think they kind of, paid a little more than they should have for Tyler O'Neill, but remember with him with the Red Sox last year, especially in the first half, he was a top first baseman in all of baseball for a good while. And, he plays really good ball. And, Kobe Mayo's still over there. Mateo, Jackson Holiday could have his breakout year.
Gunnar Henderson's MVP candidate right now.
Exactly.
He's been in MLB.
Exactly.
My opinion, though, is looking in the future. The future is going to be more interesting than this year for Boston, Baltimore, as Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, your two young stars, and Jackson Holiday soon, are all going to want a lot of money. And I'm interested to see how they approach that, as the number 2 prospect for the Orioles is the best catcher in the MLB system, which is Samuel Basillo. He's been amazing. He's going to probably be up maybe late this year or next year. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they treat Rutschman. I doubt they trade Rutschman. He's a really vital part of this team. He was one of the first players they brought up to start this rebuild.
Yeah, they're not going to trade Rutschman. They would trade him, the prospect, because then they would go after like a midseason deadline for a big name.
But it's all about money, man. Like looking at another guy, like Vance. Oh my, I'm off a perk today, but Vance Honeycutt, love him. Was great in the World Series, College World Series last year for North Carolina. He could be an impact now player for them. If they can bring him up mid-year around, I'm going to say August, he could be a huge rookie pickup for them in the outfield, especially with their outfield. Lou Santander. They have Tyler O'Neill on a backup, but a young guy like this is going to be huge. But their future is good. The way they treat this year's, they do have their bullpen is very solid. Their bullpen is solid, but the way they handle starting pitching, they have to go out at the deadline and pick up some guys. They need to start trading prospects. They need to make a pickup at the deadline. I can't tell you right now who's going to be a free agent pitcher for next year, but they have to go out there. As a Tigers fan, I love Skubal with all my heart. I would cry if they traded him. The Tigers are a team where if Skubal's arbitration hearings don't think they're going to go well, you got to give the Tigers the world and you get Skubal, because Skubal in the AL East would be dominant. You have to think about this as an Orioles organization is, you don't, the pitching is your weakness right now. You have to think about a way to go out there and either improve the guys you have by a lot or make a big splash at the deadline.
Right. That's interesting. I don't know if they're going to trade Skubal. I think that's a very bold take, but interesting to say the least. You ready to talk about the Yankees? Because we're running out of time.
How much time we got left?
Got like 10 minutes, not even.
Let me do something real quick about the Orioles, and then let's go. I think the Orioles, as you said, are the only team that's really, really competing with the Yankees to win the AL East. I think that right now, Gunnar Henderson's top of his game, Rutschman's top of his game. Mountcastle's still playing really well. Tyler O'Neill's had a great year last year, but it's the division games. They always matter the most to every single team, but the division games, especially against the Yankees, are going to matter a lot for a tiebreaker this year. And as I said, like the pitching's really gonna matter for the Orioles. The Orioles really have to decide come April or not April, sorry, June, what they want, like because they will be competing. That is almost a 100-win team, I would say, offensive wise. Looking at the Orioles, their bullpen is at a 100-win team, but the starting pitching is not there. You can't beat the Yankees without starting pitching. Going to the Yankees had a amazing offseason. They did the best offseason by any team by far, I think. You would say the Mets had a better offseason. I disagree. I think the Yankees improved. I hate the Yankees. I think you know that. Most of them, all my friends know that. The viewers probably know that. But
Yep.
the amount the Yankees have improved from being in the World Series to where they are now, I think has tripled. The fact that they could pick up Devin Williams somehow for Nestor and a top prospect, which is a big loss for them, is
Yeah.
huge. They did lose Gleyber Torres, so there is still that hole. But looking past that, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But Devin Williams is our new closer. They lost Clay Holmes, but Clay Holmes had a horrible second half of the year. So they pick up a great closer, a lockdown guy in Devin Williams, who came back last year, second half. But I have a lot of confidence in him. Max Fried on an 8-year deal, really big for them. Get to keep a guy for a long time. Another great lefty to add to that rotation. Goldschmidt's 1-year deal, whatever. He's just going to be there to fill in. Longoria, who cares? I was a huge fan of that Cody Bellinger trade. Huge fan.
Really?
I went to see Rodon play the Cubs in his first game back 2 years ago, and I saw Bellinger hit a moonshot the second deck. And I was like, the fact this guy isn't a Yankee in this short porch is insane. Because he just hits pop-ups. They go so far in that short porch. You see him, he's perfect. He has so many options now. They don't have Verdugo back. So many options to move him around, especially losing Soto too. He's going to be an everyday player for them, whether it's outfield or first base. So I love that pickup for them. They did lose a lot, though. You lose an amazing player in Soto. You lost a great guy in Gleyber Torres, who you have a huge hole now, and it was Verdugo. So you have three big question marks in terms of who's going to fill those shoes. I
Yeah.
can't see Jazz filling any. Jazz was very underwhelming to me. They don't. Evan Longoria might be at third base starting the year, and you put Jazz at second. But even that, it's the Yankees are the best team in the AL East, and they are going to get better once they trade Marcus Stroman and they get something back for him.
Yeah.
Once Marcus Stroman is gone from the Yankees, whatever the return is, no matter what it is, it could be $5, it could be Miles Capone, whatever it is, it's going to
Good
be
better.
make
Yeah.
that team so much better than they are now because that contract is eating them down. He had, I believe, what, 0 playoff innings, 0 World Series innings. I can tell you that.
Mhm.
So once Stroman is gone, this team is going to be insanely good, but they look really good right now. I'm still concerned about those holes in their
Yeah.
defense,
Like,
but
talk
offensively
about
they
the
look
holes,
great.
right? Like, I'm looking at their depth chart right now on Yahoo Sports, and under second baseman, they have literally nobody. So that's obviously a concern. You could throw DJ back in there, DJ LeMahieu, but the infield, other than Bellinger and Goldschmidt, do not look good. They don't
Mm.
look good at all. Like Volpe is Volpe's good. I think Volpe's going to have a good year. He's had a really great year last year. But Oswaldo
He's trending
Cabrera,
upwards.
correct. Oswaldo Cabrera, DJ LeMahieu, not ideal starters on a championship winning team. Wells behind the dish is a great addition. Um, you got let's put this out there. They got Trent Grisham in center still. You know what I mean? Like there's still some issues that they need to tweak out, but you know there's still a lot of good. I think not only is um their hitting been pretty good, I think their pitching got a lot better. And I want to highlight that because last year, like, Rodon had a good year. Stroman did not play well, but you added Max Fried, like a top 10 pitcher in the MLB. Like, that's no joke. So now you got Rodon, Fried, and Cole, 1, 2, 3 punch. And I want to put this out there. The relief pitchers, you can put Luke Weaver in the relief zone, and he had an amazing postseason. He had closed many, many games. And then you got Devin Williams as a closer. So like a real pitching is good. The Yankees can win games by only scoring 2 or 3 runs in a game because
Yeah.
pitching will just shut them out. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
realistically, their
Yeah.
offense doesn't have to be unbelievably amazing because if their pitching is only allowing 2, 3 runs a game, who cares? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
I'm sad to say that the way it looks right now, until either Garrett Cole or Judge like just falls off their peak, we're going to see a lot of Yankees Dodgers in the playoffs. That's the sad truth of it. I mean, you're even forgetting like your guy, Luis Heel. His walk rate was really high, but he is an amazing starter. He will be a dominant guy for them. I mean, the Martian, Jason Dominguez will 100% debut and be a full-time MLB player this year. I will guarantee, I will put money to whoever, if it doesn't happen, I will pay somebody. Someone will get paid because the fact that he will not be a starter is incredible if they don't re-sign Verdugo. I mean, the holes are gaping in terms of what they have to fill in, but the team has, besides those holes, has really, really improved. I mean, the pitching has only gotten better. Once Stroman, very underwhelming. Stroman's hard to deal due to his contract, so maybe you throw him in the pen. But exactly, a guy like Luke Weaver was their closer the last half of the year, and he was a great closer. His spin rates are insane. His pitch mix is great. Like he's their Blake Trinan, but he's 10 years younger than Blake Trinan. So I'm really excited to see where the Yankees go. I think you have to say right now that the Yankees are in the World Series. As of today, I'm going to say it's Yankees Dodgers. I'm going to say Dodgers winning it again, but Yankees Dodgers is going to look really fun, and it's going to be a much better series. The Yankees pitching has improved so much, and their hitting all around has gotten better. Like I think you have to look at that as a huge pickup for the Yankees in this offseason.
Yeah. All right, we're running pretty low on time, so let's go rapid fire. 5-1. I'll start. Last place, got the Tampa Bay Rays. Not going to be a good team. Number 4, got the Blue Jays. Number 3, got the Red Sox. Number 2, got the Orioles. Number 1, Yankees on top. It's going to be close between the Yankees and the Orioles, but I think the Yankees are going to win by 2 or 3 games again, like they did last year.
I'm going to do the same thing as you. At 5, I have the Rays. At 4, Blue Jays. At 3, Red Sox. At 2, Orioles. And at 1, Yankees. I think the Yankees are just they're only winning by a few games, but I think the Red Sox are a team that I could see flip-flop 3 or 2. The Red Sox are going to look good this year. Blue Jays and Rays, not excited for, very low expectations.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that is all we have today for 718 Sports, episode number 23. Thank you guys for coming. How much time do we have? We have 2 minutes. We have breaking news, actually. Breaking news. Aaron Rodgers is officially out of New York. Rodgers is out.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Sorry,
Just your initial thought right now.
I mean, if this is true, this is insane. Like, this is wow. I mean, this question for you: you have to draft a quarterback, right?
Yep.
Like, you have to draft a quarterback. I don't know how Jordan Lewis, like, how their backup is. I know he was hurt last. I'm forgetting his name. I'm so confused now. But
yeah,
you have to draft a quarterback. You have a top 10 pick. Like, this is. Does Devontae Adams leave too? Is the question now. That's a huge wow. What a way to end an episode.
Yeah. Official
tweet. A bombshell.
Official tweet by the New York Jets. We have informed Aaron Rodgers that we will be moving in a different direction at quarterback. Interesting. Very, 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 very,
$49 million of dead money. Wow.
So they're just like throwing money in the trash. Wow. Wow.
Wow.
That's insane.
What a way to end a freaking episode, man.
They should bring Sam Darnold back. That's what they should.
Ooh, hot take. Bring him back. Bring him back.
Yeah, all right. I don't. Who's that guy who played for the Jets? I mean, he would have been great on the Jets. Sam Darnold. Anyway, that's all we got. 718 Sports. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. See you next time.